So early stage investing. So startups in the early stage, especially tech startups, there is a fairly long gestation before the startup is ready for customers, right? They need to come up with their initial kind of science, the prototype on how the technology is going to work, and then they need to go build a version that is ready for customers based on that technology, understand what exactly the product configuration and product usage is, and define, design, build it, and then maybe take it to a few customers and then tweak it. So it takes at least these three key phases: verify the science or the basic approach, get a basic version, and a basic customer ready version. And these phases need funding. So yes, the startups are expected to put sweat equity, their own time, the founders team time. But that said, sometimes maybe some hardware is needed, maybe some design services are needed, maybe you need to hire a few engineers apart from the founders to get it ready, especially for deep tech startups. So the funding is required. So that is the primary purpose of early stage funding, to get the deep tech, deep science, or deep IP based solution ready for customers, customer ready for the first customer. Now, what are the key stages, right? If you look at the stages of a startup, of such a startup, there is the seed stage where you're just seeding the idea, getting the basic science verified. There's an MVP stage where you have a minimum viable product, right? The first phase, seed stage, you're just verifying the science. In the second stage, you're kind of getting a basic version of a product, the idea of a product. Often, if you have a very fancy computer vision algorithm or a speech algorithm, that first part is just verifying the science, right? The second part is now packaging it in a product, understanding what the product should be. Then comes the customer ready stage, where you're now ready to show to customers, right? There's a customer ready or revenue ready stage, and then there's early revenue. Those are the four stages. If you look at why the funding is needed in any of these stages, the first stage is translation. You're taking the science that is coming from research labs or a deep science or deep tech based idea. From there, you're creating a basic prototype. That is the translation phase, right? Translating research or science into a basic workable code, right? That's the translation phase. Then comes the product phase, right? Often there are grants from different entities, which is to productize research. After you got a basic prototype ready, you now create the first version of a product. So that's a grant to productize research, translating research, and then productizing research. And then comes, of course, sometimes for hardware product, there also maker, you need like hardware resources. It can't come from sweat equity. You need access to some facilities, access to some machines, access to material. So those are real money. While yes, founders may put in some money, it helps to have some of these grants, right? So those are the three key phases. Now, what are the sources of funding, right? For such, the primary source is incubators and accelerators that have funding for the seeding stage, right? Especially if it's coming from deep science or research. Now, some of it is to create that first version, like the EIR grants, and some of it is to create the first customer ready versions. So there are the MVP grants or the translating research grants, and then there are also maker grants from the likes of Nidhi Prayas and such that offer hardware products, and there are early stage accelerators. That's the other source available. Many incubators run very early stage seeding accelerators or pre-revenue accelerators. And in some cases, there are also corporate programs that fund this stage of a deep science or deep tech product development, especially in spaces like healthcare and such. There are avenues available. Most of it gets routed through incubators. So early stage funding is by and large available through various research or academic incubators. And the corporates also find the incubators to be a good avenue to source these ideas, source these startups, and also fund and manage the program. Because these are not just funding. These are programs anywhere from 3 to 6 months, sometimes longer. The program also has to be managed, and most of this funding is available through incubators. So if you're an early stage deep tech or a deep science startup, whether coming from research or your own idea, and you are looking for support and funding, reach out to an academic incubator.